Hey guys, tonight we're heading somewhere quiet, somewhere ancient. An abbey where dawn breaks not with chatter, but with the low, measured hush of centuries. The air is cool and sweet with the scent of old stone and morning bread, and the abbey itself seems to breathe in slow, patient sighs. You stand at the edge of the cloister, and everything feels still. A soft mist clings to the ground, curling around your feet like the memory of sleep. The bells ring, low and slow, each note a ripple across the hushed SO. Before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Let me know in the comments where you're listening from and what time it is where you are. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You watch the first pale light of the day slip across the worn stones, gilding the edges of the cloister arches. A lone monk in a faded saffron robe moves through the garden, his footsteps soft on the dew-wet grass. He carries a small wicker basket, and even that seems to make no sound. This is a world shaped by quiet, a hush that clings to every breath and every thought. You feel it settle on your shoulders like a soft cloak, and though it's strange at first, it soon becomes a comfort. The quiet here is thick and old, a hush that's been tended like the abbey's rose bushes, growing sweeter and deeper with each passing year. Historians still argue whether this hush was born from devotion or from fear, whether the vow of silence was a promise to the divine or a quiet rebellion against the noisy world beyond the abbey walls. You watch the monk pause by the old well, the mist swirling around his feet. He bows his head, lips moving in a prayer you can't hear, but you see the slow shape of it, the gentle weight of the words. He dips his hand into the cool water, letting it slip through his fingers, and in that small gesture you feel the hush. How it's not emptiness but fullness. How it's not the absence of words, but the presence of something deeper. The bells toll again, softer now, and the hush grows richer. You feel it in the way the leaves shiver in the dawn breeze, in the way the light turns the stone walls to honey and gold. You follow the monk's slow path back to the cloister, each step a soft echo in the hush. The other monks move like drifting clouds, no chatter, no laughter, only the patient rhythm of breath and prayer. The world here is built on that hush. Every stone laid in quiet devotion, every footstep a small vow to the peace that fills the abbey. Even the bees in the garden seem to hum softer, their song a gentle counterpoint to the breath of the morning air. You pause, your own breath matching the slow rhythm of the abbey. You realize that here, in this quiet, the world is not empty, but full of soft prayers and warm bread, of the hush of centuries holding you close, and in that hush you find a promise, that the day will begin slowly, gently, in the patient breath of the abbey's silence. You stand in the quiet corridor, watching as the dawn light seeps through narrow windows and dances along the stone floor. The hush of the abbey is like a second skin, soft and weighty all at once. The air tastes of cold dew and beeswax, and every breath you take seems to echo back from the high, vaulted ceiling. A young monk in a deep indigo robe moves past you, head bowed. His hands are clasped around a worn wooden prayer bead, each polished orb catching the faint gleam of morning light. He doesn't speak. Not a word, not a murmur. His lips are still, though they move in silent prayer. You see the faintest hint of a smile at the corner of his mouth, like he's cradling some secret he'll never share. The vow of silence is not just a rule here, it's a promise. One spoken in the hush of the cloister, where the air is thick with the soft weight of centuries. You watch as he pauses at a small wooden door, fingers brushing over the iron latch. He opens it soundlessly and disappears within. You're left with the stillness of the corridor, the faint scent of old wood and lavender oil clinging to the air. The hush is almost tangible, a living thing that wraps around the abbey like a patient shroud. Historians still argue whether this vow was meant as a penance or as a path to something deeper. Some say the silence was a way to hear the divine in every heartbeat, while others claim it was a discipline, a measure of a monk's devotion. You step forward, feeling the cold of the stones beneath your feet. In the small garden beyond the cloister, monks in saffron and teal work in quiet harmony. They prune herbs with careful hands, their motions as slow and deliberate as the drifting clouds above. No voices, just the whisper of shears through green leaves and the soft crunch of dew-wet soil beneath leather boots. You notice how they move together, each gesture a wordless conversation. A nod here, a flick of the wrist there. A silent language born of years spent in the hush. You see it in the way one monk lifts a basket of herbs, his eyes meeting another's in a brief, knowing glance. In that look, an entire dialogue. Yes, that's enough. Yes, you've done well. Yes, we are here together. The air is thick with the scent of rosemary and sage, the gentle perfume of a garden tended in silence. Bees drift lazily among the blooms, their buzzing a low hum that fills the hush with soft music. You pause by the low stone wall, watching as a monk in a russet robe kneels to gather mint. He moves with such care, as if every leaf is a prayer, every breath a blessing. And in that hush, you feel the weight of the vow. How it isn't just a silence of the mouth, but a quiet of the soul, a promise to let the world speak in other ways. In the rustle of leaves, in the slow warmth of the sun on ancient stones, in the way two monks share a glance and find in it everything they need. You take a slow breath, feeling the hush settle deeper around you. Here, in this quiet, you begin to understand. Silence is not the absence of words, but the presence of everything else. The hush of the abbey deepens as the morning grows, each breath of quiet drawing you closer to the heart of the silence. You walk slowly, your feet bare against the cold stone, the soft shuffle of your steps the only sound you pass under an arched doorway, its stone cool and worn smooth by centuries of quiet hands. The air here is heavy with the scent of beeswax candles and fresh bread, a comforting warmth that fills the narrow passageways and a small chapel to your left. A single candle flickers in a stone alcove, its flame trembling in the slow draft that moves like a ghost through the halls. You pause for a moment, watching the light dance in the hush, and you wonder how many prayers have been whispered in this place. Prayers that never needed words. A monk in a faded teal habit kneels nearby, his head bowed low. You can't hear him, but you can almost feel the shape of his breath, the steady rhythm of his devotion. His hands rest on the worn wooden pew, fingers curled as if holding something precious and invisible. Historians still argue whether the vow of silence was a true rejection of the world or a way to hear it more clearly. Some say the hush was meant to draw the mind inward, to let the soul bloom in the quiet. Others claim it was a rebellion, a gentle defiance of a world that spoke too loud and too fast. You move again, deeper into the abbey's embrace. The hush seems to thicken here, a slow river of calm that winds around you, carrying you along. You find yourself breathing slower, matching the quiet pulse of the place that I in the long refectory. Wooden tables stand empty for now, the benches lined up in neat rows. You see how the worn edges of the wood catch the light, how each knot and grain holds the stories of 1,000 silent meals. No chatter, no laughter, only the soft clink of wooden spoons and the warm scent of barley stew and honey bread. You pause at the doorway, feeling the hush fill your chest. It's a strange thing, this silence. At first it seems like emptiness, but the longer you stand in it, the more you feel it pulse with quiet life. A young monk in a saffron robe moves slowly down the hall, his arms wrapped around a bundle of linens. His eyes meet yours, and in that brief glance you see a smile, small and sure, a promise that the hush here is not cold or lonely, but warm and alive. You watch him disappear around a corner, his bare feet silent on the worn stone. The scent of fresh linen follows him, sweet and clean, a small promise of comfort in the hush. You close your eyes for a moment, letting the hush fill you. In the quiet, you can almost hear the heartbeat of the abbey itself. A slow, steady rhythm that holds you close, that whispers. Here you can rest. Here you can breathe. And as you open your eyes again, the hush is no longer something that surrounds you. It's something you carry with you, soft and steady. A gentle promise that the quiet will always hold you close. You follow the scent of bread and wood smoke, drawn deeper into the abbey's quiet rhythm. A narrow doorway opens into the small kitchen, where the hush is a low hum of warmth and careful hands. The kitchen is lit by the glow of the hearth, its flickering light dancing along the worn stones. A monk in a russet robe leans over a wooden counter, his hands deft as he kneads dough. He works with a slow, patient grace, each movement deliberate, as if the silence itself guides him. You watch him shape the dough, folding it over and over, the soft sound of flour and breath filling the room. He doesn't look up, but there's a calm in his movements that speaks louder than any word. A quiet devotion woven into every gentle press and pull in the corner. A small pot of barley stew simmers, the rich scent of thyme and rosemary rising in soft curls of steam. The hush here isn't empty. It's full of the small, steady sounds of a life lived close to the earth. The crackle of the hearth, the sigh of the bread as it rises, the soft clink of a wooden spoon against an iron pot. You notice a monk in a deep indigo robe tending the fire, his face half hidden by the glow. He adds a log with careful hands, his fingers calloused and sure. The embers glow brighter, the hush deepening around the slow dance of the flames. Historians still argue whether these daily chores were acts of penance or quiet joy. Some say the monks believed each task was a prayer, a way to weave devotion into every simple motion. Others claim it was a practical necessity, a way to keep body and soul warm through the long hush of the seasons. You feel the truth of it in the warmth of the room, in the way the monks move together like a quiet river, each one knowing his part in the gentle hush. A basket of onions rests in the corner, their papery skins catching the light. The monk in russet reaches for one, slicing it thin with a small iron knife. The sound of the blade against the wood is soft, almost tender. He pauses for a moment, lifting the slices to his nose, breathing in their sweet, sharp scent. He glances at you then, his eyes warm, and you see a flicker of amusement there. A small spark of laughter that doesn't need words to be shared. The hush here is gentle enough to hold even that quiet joke. You lean against the doorway, feeling the slow pulse of the abbey's heart in every careful movement, every warm breath of the hearth. The bread rises in the oven, the stew bubbles softly, and the hush wraps around it all like a soft cloak. And in that hush you find a promise. That every task, no matter how small, can be an act of devotion. That every breath can be a prayer. That in the quiet work of hands and heart, there is a kind of holiness that doesn't need to be spoken aloud. The hush of the kitchen settles deeper around you as the monks move like soft shadows. But even in this carefully tended quiet, you catch it. A sudden slip, a single word that echoes like a dropped pebble in a still pond. It's a small thing, a simple "ah" from the young monk in indigo as he lifts the pot of barley stew from the coals. The word tumbles out of him unbidden. A tiny crack in the hush. The other monks pause, their hands still in the dough, in the bread basket, in the slow swirl of the wooden spoon. The moment hangs in the warm air, the hush growing heavy as they wait, and then the old monk in russet, his face lined like the worn stones of the cloister, smiles, just a flicker of amusement at the corners of his mouth. He nods once, and the hush releases its breath, the work resuming as if the small slip had never happened. You see the relief in the young monk's shoulders, how he bows his head and returns to his task with quiet devotion. The slip is forgiven, because even the hush has its moments of softness. Historians still argue whether these rare slips were seen as sins to be confessed or small cracks that let a little light in. Some say the vow was absolute, broken by even a sigh. Others claim the hush was never meant to be a prison, only a path. You see the truth of it in the way the monks move together, how they let the hush settle again like a blanket, how they forgive the small cracks as part of the rhythm of a life lived in quiet devotion. The scent of the stew fills the air, rich and sweet, and you watch as the young monk dips a wooden spoon, tasting it with the same careful reverence he showed the vow itself. He closes his eyes, nods once, and the small slip is folded away in the hush like a secret. Outside, the sky brightens, and the first light of the sun spills into the kitchen, painting the walls with soft gold. The hush seems to glow in that light, the quiet work of hands and breath and heart woven into the slow, patient dawn. You take a slow breath, feeling how the hush is not about perfect stillness, but about the gentle forgiveness of the world. About the quiet ways we find to keep going, even when the words slip out, and as the young monk hums under his breath, a tune so soft it seems part of the hush itself, you smile, feeling how even in the quietest places, a small word can bloom like a warm light in the dark. The hush of the kitchen folds back into the warm rhythm of the abbey as you follow the young monk out into the cloister once more. The soft golden light of the morning slants through the arches, Catching on the worn stones and the dew-damp grass of the courtyard beyond, you walk slowly, your footsteps matching the slow, patient breath of the place. Even the air here feels gentle, touched by the hush that has lived in these walls for centuries. The line of monks in faded indigo robes moves through the cloister, each one silent, their heads bowed. They hold small wooden prayer beads in their hands, the smooth grains polished by years of quiet devotion. As they pass, you hear it, a low hum, not quite song, not quite word, but the quiet echo of prayer spoken only in the heart. The hush isn't just the absence of speech, it's the presence of that low, patient hum, the way it seems to settle into the very bones of the abbey. Historians still argue whether these silent prayers were a form of meditation or a way to weave the hush even deeper into the soul. Some say the monks believed each breath of quiet carried a prayer further than any word could. Others claim it was simply the only way to speak in a place where words were a luxury. You pause by the edge of the cloister, watching the monks as they move like a single river of stillness. Their faces are calm, their steps measured, and in the hush you feel the quiet weight of every breath, every heartbeat. A small sparrow flutters down from the high roof, perching on the edge of the worn stone wall. It tilts its head at you, its small body still and bright in the morning light. Even the birds here seem to understand the hush, their songs soft and fleeting, like a secret shared in a single note. The young monk who slipped earlier walks a little ahead, his shoulders straight now, his breath calm. He pauses by a small stone bench, fingers tracing the faint carvings worn into its surface, words from another age. Another hush. You sit beside him, feeling the quiet settle around you like a gentle tide. The air smells of cool stone and warm bread, of rosemary and the faint sweetness of the garden's last blooms. That he doesn't speak, but you see the small smile in his eyes as he closes them, breathing in the hush. You match his breath, slow and deep, and in that shared quiet, you feel the simple truth of this place. That the hush is not about what's missing, but about what's held close. The sparrow flits away, its wings a whisper in the hush, and you feel the warmth of the sun on your face, soft as a benediction. The abbey hums around you, each stone and breath and quiet step a prayer of its own. And as you sit there, your hands resting on the cool stone, you realize that the hush is not a burden. It's a gift. A promise that even in the loudest world, there can be a place where silence is holy and the soft breath of the earth is enough. The hush of the abbey stretches deeper, wrapping around you like the soft folds of a woolen cloak. You rise from the stone bench, your feet moving in the slow, quiet rhythm of the cloister. Every breath you take seems to carry the scent of rosemary and earth, the hush itself alive in the cool morning air. You watch as the monks move together in small clusters, each gesture speaking volumes without a single word. A gentle touch on the shoulder, a shared glance, a small nod of the head. Here, the hush is a language of its own, woven from every soft breath and careful hand. In the small garden near the abbey's heart, you see two monks bent over a patch of green, their hands gentle as they coax the first shoots of spring from the dark soil. One wears a robe of faded indigo, the other in russet, and between them passes an unspoken conversation. A glance, a flicker of a smile, a shared breath. Historians still argue whether these silent exchanges were learned over years of hush or if they were simply the natural language of those who live so close to the earth. Some say the hush taught them to see more clearly, to hear the quiet ways the world speaks. Others claim it was the only way to keep the vow without losing the warmth of human touch. You stand a moment longer, watching how the hush gathers in the space between them. A soft, living bond that doesn't need words to be felt. The sun slips higher, warm on your face, and the hush deepens around you. In the far corner of the garden, a young monk in a saffron robe kneels by a row of rosemary. He closes his eyes as his fingers brush the green leaves, and you see the quiet devotion in the curve of his shoulders, the gentle care in his touch. He plucks a single sprig, holds it to his nose, and breathes deep. In that breath, you see the hush in its purest form. A promise not of silence, but of presence, of being here, fully and softly, in the small green heart of the abbey. You turn back to the cloister, the hush folding around your steps like a blessing. A monk passes you, his hands full of fresh bread wrapped in a linen cloth. His eyes meet yours for a moment, and though no words are spoken, you feel the warmth of his quiet greeting. a shared understanding that here, in this place, even the smallest glance is enough. The hush holds you as you walk, the soft flicker of the rushlights and the low hum of the abbey's breath wrapping around you like a gentle tide. And in that hush, you feel the simple truth of the vow, that words are not the only way to speak, that in every quiet gesture, every soft step, there is a conversation waiting to be heard. The hush of the abbey carries you deeper into its quiet heart, and as you move through the low archways, you begin to notice the smallest details, things that in the clamor of the outside world might have gone unnoticed. The bees, you pause at the edge of the small orchard, where the morning sun spills through the twisted branches of old apple trees, dappling the grass with soft gold. Here, in the hush of the abbey, even the bees seem to hum in reverent quiet. A row of simple wooden hives stands near the garden wall, their rough planks dark with age and sweet with the faint scent of honey. The bees drift in slow, patient circles, their wings a soft shimmer in the light. Each small body moves with such deliberate grace, as if even their humming is a prayer. You stand still, listening. The hush is deeper here, the low drone of the bees blending with the breath of the orchard. You see how the monks have tended this place with the same quiet care they give to every stone and sprig of rosemary. A monk in a russet robe kneels by the hives, his hands moving slowly as he checks the wooden slats. His fingers are steady, his breath slow and even, and the bees seem to accept his touch, moving around him in a soft golden cloud. Historians still argue whether these bees were seen as small saints or simply as gentle workers of the abbey's gardens. Some say the hush taught the monks to understand the bees' patient language, to move like them, slow and deliberate, each motion a small devotion. Others claim it was the bees who taught the hush, their low hum the quiet music that shaped the abbey's breath. You watch the monk lift a comb heavy with honey, his face calm, a faint smile at the corners of his mouth. He sets it down carefully in a wicker basket, the hush folding around the slow drip of golden honey. A child's voice would have broken this hush like a stone in a still pond. But here, there is only the soft murmur of bees and the steady breath of the garden. Even the wind seems to hold its breath, moving gently through the apple blossoms. You step closer, the grass cool beneath your feet, and you feel the quiet joy of this moment. The patient work of the bees, the gentle care of the monk, the slow dance of light and hush and breath. The monk looks up and meets your gaze. No words pass between you, but in that soft glance you understand. The hush here is not just for the monks. It's for the bees, for the trees, for every quiet life that grows in this small green world. You close your eyes for a moment, breathing in the scent of apple blossoms and honey, and you feel the hush settle deeper around you. Promise of slow, steady work. A promise that even the smallest voice, the hum of a bee's wings, can fill the quiet with something sacred. The gentle hum of the bees fades behind you as you follow the path through the abbey gardens. The hush grows deeper still, folding around you like a soft woolen cloak as you descend a narrow flight of stone steps into the shadowy coolness below. You pause at the bottom, the air damp and sweet with the scent of earth and something richer, something alive. The monk in a russet robe lights a small lantern, its glow a warm pool in the darkness. He glances back at you, a silent invitation, and you follow him into the abbey's secret heart, the cheese cellar. The walls here are thick and cool, lined with shelves of pale wheels of cheese, each one resting in patient stillness. The hush is not broken by the soft flicker of the lantern, nor by the low creak of the old wooden shelves as the monk checks them. One by one, the scent of the cellar is rich and musky, milk and salt and the faint, sweet tang of mold. You take a slow breath, feeling how the hush settles even here, how it seeps into the creamy rind and the slow, secret work of time. The monk moves like a shadow, his fingers gentle as he tests the weight of a wheel, brushing away a thin bloom of powdery white. He lifts the cheese with reverence, as if it were a relic, and sets it back with a soft thump that echoes like a heartbeat in the cool stone room. Historians still argue whether this cheesemaking was seen as a sacred duty or simply a quiet pleasure in the monk's days. Some say the hush was the secret ingredient, the stillness that let the milk turn to gold, the silence that coaxed each wheel into quiet perfection. Others claim it was a simple act of necessity, a way to feed the body so the soul could stay light. You reach out and touch one of the cool, rough wheels, the rind firm beneath your fingers. In that touch, you feel the hush that has lived here for centuries, the slow patience of milk and salt and air. The monk kneels and lifts the edge of a cloth, revealing a small knife with a worn wooden handle. He cuts a thin sliver from the wheel, the blade slicing through the firm, pale heart of the cheese with a soft sigh. He offers it to you in silence, and you take it with a small nod of thanks. The taste is soft and rich, a quiet comfort that fills your mouth like the hush of the abbey itself. It tastes of milk and morning air, of green pastures and the slow, secret work of time. The monk's eyes meet yours, and in that glance you understand. This cheese is more than food. It's a prayer, a promise, a hush made solid and sweet. You swallow the last bite slowly, the cool air of the cellar filling your lungs. The hush wraps around you, soft and steady, and in that quiet moment, you feel the weight of every silent vow, every gentle hand, every breath of the abbey's ancient hush. And as the monk turns back to his work, you stand still for a moment longer, letting the hush settle into your bones. Here, even the cheese seems to know the language of the quiet. The hush of the cheese cellar lingers on your tongue as you follow the monk deeper into the shadows. The air is cool, thick with the scent of milk and thyme, each breath a soft echo of centuries past. You pause beside a row of tall shelves, the wooden boards bowed under the weight of the wheels. The monk leans close to one, his fingers brushing the faint, powdery bloom that coats the rind. He murmurs a silent prayer, lips moving in the hush that fills every corner of this place. The hush here isn't just in the walls or the flickering lantern light. It's in the cheese itself. You feel it in the slow, patient work that turns milk to gold, in the way each wheel seems to hum with the quiet devotion of the monks who made it. The monk lifts a wheel with both hands, his movements careful and deliberate. The rind is thick and rough, pale as old parchment, and as he sets it down on the wooden counter, you hear the faint, hollow thump of its weight. It's a sound that settles in your bones, a promise that even in the hush, there is work, there is care. Historians still argue whether the monks saw this cheesemaking as sacred or simply practical. Some say it was a way to feed the soul as much as the body, a quiet act of devotion that needed no words. Others claim it was born of necessity, a clever way to keep milk from spoiling in the long hush of winter. You watch as the monk takes a small cloth and wipes the wheel clean, each stroke as gentle as a prayer. His hands move in slow circles, the hush deepening around the soft scrape of cloth on rind. He glances at you, a quiet smile flickering in his eyes, and you see how this work is a language of its own, one that doesn't need words to be understood. You reach out to help, your fingers brushing against the cool, firm curve of the wheel, and for a moment you feel the slow heartbeat of the hush itself. The monk cuts a small wedge from the wheel, the knife sliding through the firm, pale flesh with a soft, clean sound. He offers it to you, and you take it with careful hands, the hush thick and sweet around the small, perfect taste. The cheese is creamy, sharp, and sweet all at once, a taste that seems to bloom in your mouth like the soft morning light. You close your eyes, and for a moment the hush fills every sense, the slow, patient work of the monks alive in every bite. You open your eyes to see the monk smiling, the hush of the cellar folding around you both like a soft cloak. He cuts another wedge, placing it on a small wooden board alongside a crust of dark bread and a smear of golden honey. He nods once, a quiet invitation, and you sit beside him on the cool stone bench. Together you eat in silence, the hush a gentle promise that in this small meal there is more than sustenance. There is devotion, there is care, there is the slow, sweet work of time. The hush holds you close, and in that quiet moment, you taste the soul of the abbey itself, rich and warm, patient and sure, a soft echo of every vow ever taken in the stillness of these stone walls. You finish the last bite of bread and honey, the hush of the cellar holding you close. The monk beside you stands, brushing crumbs from his lap, and gestures for you to follow. You rise, the cool stone pressing into your bare feet, and step back into the narrow corridor beyond. The hush follows you, soft as a breath, as you climb the worn stone stairs. Each step is a slow echo, the lantern's glow flickering along the walls. You emerge into the cloister once more, the air brighter and filled with the quiet warmth of the morning sun. But today, the hush feels different. You see it in the way the monks move, no longer just silent shadows, but men with a quiet excitement in the set of their shoulders, a bright flicker in their eyes. Today is Cheese Day, the one day in the year when the hush is lifted. You stand in the cloister's archway, watching as the monks gather in the courtyard. Their robes of russet and teal seem to glow in the soft light, each fold catching the warmth of the morning. They stand in small groups, heads bowed together, and you catch the glimmer of a smile here and there, small, secret promises of laughter to come. Historians still argue why this day was set apart. Some say it was a feast to honor the simple, rich gifts of the abbey's labor, others that it was a sly rebellion against the strict hush of every other day. Some say the cheese itself was seen as holy, a quiet alchemy of milk and time, a small, delicious defiance against the silence. You watch as a young monk in a saffron robe carries a small brass bell, his face solemn but his eyes bright. He pauses at the edge of the courtyard, lifts the bell, and lets it ring once, twice, 3 times. The sound cuts through the hush like a warm breeze, soft and bright and full of promise. The monks lift their heads, their eyes meeting in small, joyful glances, and you feel the hush begin to loosen its careful grip. A monk in indigo leans close to another, murmuring a single word, cheese. The word blooms in the air, soft and sweet, and laughter flickers in the corners of their eyes. You step into the courtyard, the air alive with the quiet buzz of anticipation. The hush is still there, but it shivers now, thin as the morning mist, ready to break open at the first taste of cheese. You see a table draped in simple linen, the pale, golden wheels of cheese stacked like treasures. A monk lifts one gently, turning it in his hands like a prayer made solid, and you see the small smile that curves his lips. The young monk with the bell stands at the head of the table, his voice low but strong as he recites a blessing. You hear the faintest tremor in his tone, the hush of centuries bending around the promise of today. And then, with a small, bright laugh, he cuts the first slice, and the hush shatters like glass in the sun. Voices rise, soft at first, then bright and warm, like the slow swell of a hymn. Laughter bubbles up, and the monk's eyes shine with the quiet joy of a vow lifted, just for this one day. You stand in the heart of it, the hush folding back like a soft curtain, and feel the warm weight of the abbey's centuries settle into a single sweet truth. That even the quietest life needs a day of laughter, of voices, of the soft, rich taste of cheese shared in the morning light. The courtyard is alive with quiet laughter, a soft murmur of voices that fills the air like the warm scent of bread. You watch as the monks gather around the table, their hands reaching for the first slices of golden cheese. The young monk in saffron hands out pieces with a solemn care, each wedge cut smooth and even, the pale heart of the cheese soft and creamy against the knife's blade. He offers you one, the thin wedge warm in your hand, and you take it with a small nod of thanks. You bite into it slowly, and the taste blooms on your tongue, rich and sweet, a small, gentle defiance against the hush that usually fills these walls. The cheese tastes of the earth, of milk and salt and the slow, patient work of the abbey's hush. A monk in indigo raises his slice to his lips and lets out a small, delighted hum. The others smile, sharing that soft sound, and you feel the hush shift around you. A gentle laughter that needs no words. Historians still argue whether this day of feasting was truly allowed or simply a tradition the monks refused to give up. Some say it was the only day the hush was lifted, the one day the abbey's quiet heart was allowed to sing. Others claim it was a quiet rebellion, a single day of voices raised in gentle, sweet laughter. You watch as a monk in russet breaks a loaf of fresh bread, the crust crackling in his hands. He dips it into a small pot of honey, the golden threads catching the light, and offers it to the monk beside him. Their eyes meet, and they laugh softly, a shared moment of sweetness in the gentle light. The cheese itself seems to glow in the sun, each will a small sun of its own. You see how the monks handle it with reverence, as if in this small meal there is more than simple pleasure. There is the slow, steady work of years, the quiet devotion of every hand that turned milk to gold. A young monk leans close to you, his voice a soft whisper. On Cheese Day, he says with a grin, even the saints would break their hush. You laugh with him, the sound light and sweet as the honey on your tongue. The hush of the abbey doesn't vanish on Cheese Day. It becomes something else, a quiet song of joy and devotion woven into every soft word, every bite of bread and cheese. You watch as a monk carefully drizzles honey over a thick slice of cheese, the slow swirl of gold bright in the morning light. He offers it to an old monk in faded indigo, who takes it with a small bow of thanks. They share a smile that needs no words, the hush of the abbey bending around the laughter like a soft cloak. You taste the cheese again, feel the soft crumble of bread, the sweet warmth of honey on your lips. Around you, the voices rise and fall in gentle waves, the hush transformed into a warm, bright tide. And in that quiet feast, you understand. Even in a world built on silence, there must be a day to break the hush, to let laughter slip out in small golden bursts, to taste the patient work of the year in a single perfect bite. The courtyard hums with laughter and soft chatter, a gentle rebellion against the hush that holds the abbey's walls the rest of the year. You watch as the monks move from the table to the low benches that line the stone walls, each carrying their small feast of bread and cheese and honey. A young monk in a saffron robe lifts a small, wooden cup of fresh milk, the creamy surface catching the pale light. He tips it back, his throat working in the hush, and when he sets it down, his eyes glimmer with the quiet joy of the morning. You sit beside a monk in deep indigo, his hands cradling a small bowl of thick, rich curds. He dips a piece of crusty bread into the soft white mound, his fingers careful, each movement slow and sure. He turns to you, offering the bowl with a small nod, and you take a bite. The curds soft and tangy, the hush folding around the bright burst of flavor. "Why cheese?" you ask softly, the question slipping out like a breath. The monk smiles, a secret tucked in the curve of his lips. Historians still argue whether this day was born from necessity or devotion. Some say it was a way to break the winter's long hush with a bright burst of summer's promise. Others that it was a small, sweet defiance, a way to let the soul sing for just a little while. The monk leans close, his voice low and warm. "Because even the quiet needs to taste the world," he murmurs, and in that small truth you feel the hush shift. A soft, sweet laughter that doesn't need to be spoken. You watch as another monk in russet lifts a chunk of cheese, his fingers strong and sure. He studies it for a moment, his brow furrowed in quiet devotion, and then he bites into it with a soft sigh of delight. Around him, the monks smile, each mouth full of the hush made warm and bright. The cheese tastes of summer and green pastures, of milk turned to gold in the quiet work of the cellar. You taste it again, feel the warmth of it bloom on your tongue, and you know, this isn't just food. It's a small prayer, a hymn to the slow, patient work of hands and time. A monk in faded teal passes you a small piece of honeycomb, the golden wax glistening in the soft light. You bite into it, and the hush tastes of flowers and bees, of the slow hum of the abbey's garden in the warm hush of the sun. You close your eyes for a moment, letting the flavors settle, the hush of the courtyard folding around you like a warm blanket. Here, in this small rebellion of voices, the hush becomes a song soft and sweet, a promise that even in the quiet, there is room for laughter. You open your eyes to see the monks smiling at one another, their eyes bright in the sun. The hush of the abbey has shifted, turned golden and warm in the taste of cheese and bread and honey. And in that gentle light, there is a hush that holds you close, and there is a hush that sets you free, if only for a single perfect day. The laughter of the courtyard hums like a soft breeze as you lean back against the sun-warmed stone, the hush shimmering around you in quiet ripples of joy. You watch as the monks, freed from their vow for this single day, let their voices rise and fall in gentle conversation. A melody of warm, low notes that turns the hush into a hymn. A monk in a saffron robe raises his voice in a soft chant, the words lost in the gentle clatter of cups and the bright crackle of bread crust. The melody is simple, a slow, winding tune that weaves through the hush like a river, carrying laughter in its gentle flow. Another monk in deep indigo joins him, his voice weaving around the first in a soft harmony. The words are ancient, but the tune is alive in this moment, bright and warm as the sun on your face. Historians still argue whether these chants were meant as prayers or simply as songs. Some say they were a way to give thanks for the quiet harvest of milk and time, others that they were a secret celebration of the hush itself, a song only the abbey could understand. You lean your head back, letting the melody wash over you, and you feel the hush soften around the edges. The soft, secret joy of this day hums in your chest, a warmth that feels older than the abbey's stones, that a young monk in russet, his face flushed with laughter, lifts a wheel of cheese in his hands like a small golden offering. The rind is rough and pale, the scent of milk and cellars rich and warm in the sun. He sings a single word, cheese, and the others join him in a bright, sweet chorus. The hush is not broken by this small rebellion. It is remade, turned to laughter and song and the soft, bright promise of a feast shared in the quiet light. You watch as a monk in faded teal leans close to the old man in russet, his hand resting gentle on his shoulder. He says something that makes the old monk laugh, the sound soft and bright as honey. And in that small, shared moment, you see how the hush is not a silence of emptiness, but a space where laughter can bloom. You taste the last bite of cheese, the rich creaminess lingering on your tongue, and you smile, feeling how even the quietest life can be filled with small, bright joys. The monks' voices weave around you, a tapestry of sound that glows in the hush. The chant swells and fades, the laughter rising like bright threads in the soft air. And in that slow, warm music, you feel the quiet pulse of the abbey's heart, a promise that even in the silence, there is room for voices to rise. The hush of the abbey is a living thing, you realize. It bends and breathes with the monks, with their laughter, with the soft, golden taste of cheese shared beneath the slow arc of the sun. And in that hush, in the soft, sweet song of Cheese Day, you find a truth as simple as a loaf of bread and as rich as a wheel of cheese. That silence is not an absence, but a space where the soul can sing. The courtyard is alive with quiet voices, the warm glow of Cheese Day laughter echoing softly in the stillness. You watch as the monks gather in small circles, wooden cups cradled in their hands, the pale glimmer of milk bright in the gentle morning light. That a young monk in a faded indigo robe lifts his cup and lets out a small laugh, just a breath of sound, but enough to turn the hush into something tender and bright. The others join him, their eyes shining as the hush folds around them like a soft cloak. You see how they break their bread together, how each small bite is savored like a prayer. The cheese is rich and warm, the honey thick and golden, and every slow bite seems to carry the hush deeper into their bones. That a monk in russet tears a chunk of bread, dipping it in the creamy heart of a wheel of cheese. He closes his eyes as he eats, and in the slow, deliberate motion of his jaw you see the weight of a year's silence released in that single, sweet bite. Historians still argue whether this feast was allowed or merely tolerated. Some say it was an official reprieve, a day granted by the abbot himself to let the soul breathe. Others claim it was a secret rebellion, a quiet joy the monks carved from the hush like a small, bright sun. You lean back against the worn stone wall, the warmth of it seeping into your skin, and watch as the monks raise their cups in gentle toasts. Their voices are low, almost reverent, as they share stories only spoken on Cheese Day. Small tales of the garden, of the bees, of the soft, green hush that grows around the abbey all year. You hear a young monk tease the old man in saffron, his voice a low rumble of laughter that seems to warm the air. The old monk just grins, a crinkle of joy around his eyes, and tips his cup in mock salute. The hush softens around their laughter, the quiet not broken but made warm and golden, each gentle word a thread of light in the soft tapestry of the abbey's quiet life. You take another bite of cheese, the rich taste a soft bloom on your tongue, and close your eyes. The air smells of rosemary and fresh bread, of warm milk and slow, careful time. Around you, the laughter rises and falls like a slow wave, the hush deepening and folding around it like a soft tide. The young monk in indigo catches your eye and winks, a small, secret spark of mischief in his gaze. And in that glance, you see how even the hush can hold a spark of rebellion. A bright, quiet joy that doesn't need to be shouted to be felt. And in that moment, as the laughter of the monks wraps around you like a warm quilt, you understand that even in the quietest life, there is a time to laugh, a time to taste the sweetness of the world, a time to let the hush bloom into song, if only for a single perfect day. The hush of the courtyard grows softer, warmer, as the monks gather near the great hearth where a small fire crackles in the cool morning air. You watch as the oldest monk in saffron leans over the embers, a long iron fork in his hand, turning slices of cheese set on thick, rough bread. The scent of melting cheese fills the hush, rich and sharp, the sweet tang of fresh milk and the slow, patient work of the seller. You see how the cheese melts into soft rivers of gold, each bite a promise of warmth and comfort. That a young monk in a russet robe leans close, holding out a wooden plate, and the old man slides the golden, bubbling bread into his hands. The young monk's eyes glow in the light of the fire, a soft, golden laughter that needs no words. Historians still argue whether this hearth was built for feasting or prayer. Some say it was a place of quiet communion, others that it was a small rebellion against the hush, a place where warmth and laughter could bloom. You crouch beside the hearth, feeling the heat of the fire on your face, the scent of toasting bread and melted cheese rich and sweet in your breath. The hush of the abbey folds around the crackle of the flames, and you see how even silence can hold a small, bright song. The monks pass the plates from hand to hand, each bite a slow, quiet joy. A monk in deep indigo tips his head back and laughs, a soft sound that seems to shimmer in the air. And you see how the hush bends around the laughter, holding it close instead of pushing it away. A boy in a teal robe sits cross-legged on the worn stones, his hands cradling a plate of melted cheese and bread. He bites into it slowly, and his eyes flutter closed, a soft sigh of delight slipping out like a prayer. You take a bite, and the cheese is a soft, warm river in your mouth, the bread crisp and golden, the hush rich and sweet as honey. You close your eyes and let the taste settle into you, the warmth of the fire and the laughter of the monks wrapping around you like a soft cloak. The old man in saffron smiles, his face a map of soft lines and bright eyes, and you see how every wrinkle holds 100 quiet mornings, 100 slow, warm days like this one. The hush of the abbey isn't broken by the crackle of the fire or the soft laughter of the monks. It blooms around them, a quiet tide that holds every sound, every bright breath of warmth and joy. And in that hush, in the slow, sweet taste of melted cheese and bread, you find the simple truth of this day, that even in a life built on silence, there is a time to gather close to the hearth, to taste the warmth of the world, and to let the hush hold you safe and bright. The fire glows brighter as the morning deepens, each flicker of flame catching the golden edges of the melting cheese. You see how the monks gather closer to the hearth, the hush wrapping around them like a warm blanket as they share small smiles and soft words. A monk in a teal robe leans close to another in faded indigo, his voice low but bright with laughter. You catch the edge of a joke, a small, quiet rebellion that breaks the hush with a ripple of warmth. The other monk chuckles, a sound as soft as the crackle of the fire, and you see how the hush doesn't break under the weight of laughter. It softens, blooms into something tender and bright. The old monk in saffron watches them with a smile, his eyes crinkled at the corners. He lifts a small wedge of cheese, holding it up like a treasure, and says something that makes the younger monks laugh again. A gentle sound, bright and warm in the hush. Historians still argue whether these jokes were shared every year or only whispered when the hush grew too heavy to hold. Some say they were a secret language, a way to let the soul breathe for a single day. Others claim they were simply a small, sweet defiance, a way to remind each other that even in silence, laughter has its place. You feel it too, the quiet joy that shivers through the hush, a soft ripple of warmth that has nothing to do with the fire's glow. It's in the way the monks lean close, the way their eyes shine with unspoken jokes, the way the laughter folds back into the hush like a secret kept safe. A young monk tears off a piece of bread, dipping it into the melted cheese, and lifts it to his mouth with a soft sigh of delight. He leans back against the worn stone wall, his face turned up to the warm glow of the sun, and you see how the hush itself seems to breathe with him, patient and alive. You take another bite of bread and cheese, the warmth of it settling into your bones, and you realize the hush of the abbey isn't just the absence of words. It's the space that holds every quiet joy, every soft breath of laughter, every slow, warm day. The old monk in saffron raises his wooden cup in a quiet toast, his voice a low murmur that hums like the wind through the cloister arches. The monks smile, their eyes bright, and they raise their cups in return, the hush folding around them like a soft tide. And in that moment, as the laughter of the monks drifts through the warm air, you understand that even the most patient hush can hold the small, bright weight of a joke. That even the quietest life can find room for a gentle laugh, a soft word shared in the warmth of the sun. The sun climbs higher, turning the quiet courtyard into a soft glow of golden light. You watch as the monks gather in a circle, their hands cradling small wooden cups of warm milk, the hush shimmering around them like a gentle tide. They sit close together, their shoulders touching, their breaths slow and deep. You see how the hush settles between them, a soft weight that holds the laughter of cheese day in a warm, tender cradle. A monk in russet tears a small piece of bread, dipping it into the melted cheese on a wooden plate. He offers it to the monk beside him, a young man in indigo whose smile is a bright spark in the soft air. Their eyes meet, and in that quiet glance you see the gentle bond of a life lived in the hush. Every glance, every small kindness, a wordless promise. Historians still argue whether these meals were meant to feed the soul or simply the body. Some say the hush was a prayer spoken in each slow bite of bread and cheese, others that it was the simple joy of a meal shared in the warmth of the sun. You take a bite yourself, the creamy taste of cheese blooming on your tongue, and you feel the hush settle. Deeper, soft and sweet as a lullaby. That a monk in a saffron robe leans forward, his fingers gentle as he tears another piece of bread. He dips it into a small pot of honey, the slow swirl of gold catching the light, and offers it to the young monk in indigo. Their laughter is low, warm as the fire, and the hush folds around it like a soft quilt. The quiet of the abbey doesn't vanish on cheese day. It bends, shimmering like the heat above the hearth, turning every small laugh into a hymn, every bright glance into a prayer. You watch as a young monk leans his head back, his eyes half closed in the slow, sweet weight of the meal. He breathes in the hush like a soft promise, his lips curved in a smile that speaks louder than any word. You feel it too, the gentle weight of the hush, the slow, warm bloom of laughter, and the taste of cheese and bread and honey. You close your eyes and let it settle around you, the soft glow of the sun on your face, the warm hush of the abbey holding you close. The monks' voices are low now, murmurs and sighs that drift like the smoke of the hearth. The hush weaves through their laughter, turning it soft and bright, a golden thread that binds them together, and in that quiet, in the slow rhythm of breath and bite and soft, sweet laughter, you understand. The hush of the abbey isn't just the absence of noise. It's the presence of every small, gentle joy. The slow warmth of a meal shared in the sun. The soft promise of a glance. The quiet weight of a life lived in devotion, one breath at a time. The hush of the courtyard grows sweeter with each small bite, each shared glance between the monks. You watch as they savor every last crumb of bread, every slow taste of melted cheese, their voices low and warm in the gentle light of the sun. That a young monk in a teal robe leans over his plate, eyes half closed as he lifts the final piece of cheese to his lips. He pauses a moment, breath slow, the hush holding the weight of the last bite. You see how he turns it in his fingers, feeling the smooth, cool rind, the warm scent of milk and earth. He closes his eyes as he eats, and you watch the hush settle around him like a prayer. The other monks pause too, their laughter softening into a quiet reverence as the last bite of cheese is savored slowly, carefully. Each taste a small act of devotion. Historians still argue whether this final bite was seen as a ritual or simply a small, sweet end to the meal. Some say it was a way to honor the hush itself, others that it was just the simple pleasure of tasting the last warm crumb of a day set apart. The monk in indigo across from him lifts his cup in a small salute, his smile gentle in the soft light. The young monk nods in return, a quiet promise held in the hush. You take your own last bite, the cheese soft and warm on your tongue, the bread crisp and earthy. You taste the quiet devotion of the seller, the slow, patient hush that turned milk into something golden and bright. You close your eyes for a moment, feeling how that final taste holds the laughter of the morning and the silence of centuries. The hush of the abbey deepens around you, the soft weight of the quiet settling like dust in the warm light. The monks fold their hands in their laps, their eyes bright and calm, each breath a gentle hymn to the hush that cradles them. The sun hangs high now, its light washing the courtyard in gold. You see how the hush softens under the warmth, how it wraps each small sound, each quiet laugh, each sigh of contentment. In a gentle golden glow, the young monk in teal wipes his fingers on a scrap of linen, his smile small and sure. The others do the same, the hush folding around the simple act of cleaning their hands, the small ritual that closes the meal. And in that last bite, in the final hush that settles over the courtyard, you see the heart of the abbey's promise. That even the smallest moment, the softest breath, can hold a quiet holiness. You let your hands rest in your lap, the hush sweet as the last taste of cheese on your tongue, and you know, the day will end, the laughter will fade, but the hush will remain. Soft and patient, a promise as old as the abbey's stones. The hush of the courtyard grows softer still, the warm weight of the last bite of cheese settling in the quiet spaces between the monks. You see how their shoulders ease, how their eyes grow calm as the sun slips lower in the sky, washing the stone walls in a soft, golden glow. The laughter that filled the hush at dawn has gentled into low, murmured conversations. A monk in russet leans against the cool wall, his eyes half closed, a faint smile playing at the corners of his lips. Another monk in a faded teal robe stretches his legs, his hands folded in his lap, content in the hush that wraps around them like a soft cloak. You feel it too, the warmth of the sun, the slow, patient breath of the abbey folding around you. The hush here isn't a command. It's a kindness, a space that holds every small breath, every quiet glance. Historians still argue whether this slow fading of laughter back into the hush was a ritual or simply the way of the abbey. Some say it was the vow gently reclaiming its place. Others that it was the hush itself, patient and sure, weaving every sound back into its soft embrace. You watch as a young monk in indigo carefully stacks the wooden cups and plates, his movements slow and deliberate. The old monk in saffron nods in approval, his smile gentle in the fading light. No words are needed. The hush is enough to hold the small kindness, the quiet thank you shared in the soft glow of the sun. A breeze stirs the courtyard, the scent of rosemary and warm earth drifting through the arches. You close your eyes and breathe deep, feeling how even the air seems to move in slow, quiet circles, folding every breath into the hush. The monks begin to rise, one by one, each step a small, careful promise. They move without hurry, the hush wrapping around their movements like a gentle tide. You see how they touch each other's shoulders as they pass, a soft, wordless benediction. The young monk in russet turns back once, his eyes meeting yours, and in that glance you see the gentle strength of the hush, a promise that this day of laughter and cheese will be folded into the quiet, held safe and sure. The courtyard empties slowly, the hush settling deeper, warm and rich as the last rays of the sun. You sit for a moment longer, your hands resting on the worn stones, feeling how the hush holds every breath, every heartbeat, every small, quiet promise. And as the monks return to the cloister, their voices gone quiet once more, you feel the hush settle back into its patient rhythm. A slow, steady promise that even the brightest laughter will find its place in the gentle quiet of the abbey's heart. The hush of the abbey deepens with the fading light, the last echoes of laughter slipping gently into silence. You watch as the monks move through the long, cool shadows of the cloister, their footsteps soft on the worn stones. They gather near the chapel doors, heads bowed, each breath slow and sure. The hush here is a living thing, a soft tide that holds every quiet breath and gentle step. You feel it settle around you, the warmth of the day's laughter folded into its slow, steady rhythm. A monk in deep indigo lifts a small brass censer, the faint glow of embers flickering through the air. He swings it gently, the sweet smoke curling in soft ribbons that catch the last light of the sun. The scent of frankincense and myrrh weaves through the hush, a prayer spoken in scent and breath. The monks bow their heads, their hands folded over their hearts. You see how the hush holds them close, how it turns each soft movement into a quiet devotion. The young monk in saffron lifts his head, his eyes bright in the glow of the candles, and begins the silent vespers. Historians still argue whether these prayers were meant to reclaim the hush or simply to give it voice. Some say the vespers were a song for the hush itself, others that they were a way to carry the soft promise of cheese day into the long night. You watch as the monks stand together, their breaths weaving through the hush like a slow tide. No words are spoken, no voices raised, only the gentle hum of prayer, the low, soft music of breath and heart. The young monk in russet lifts a single candle, the small flame bright in the cool air. He carries it slowly down the line of monks, the light catching the soft folds of their robes, the warm glow turning the hush into a gentle golden promise. You feel it too, the slow breath of the hush, the way it holds every small flicker of light, every soft exhale of prayer. You close your eyes and breathe deep, feeling how the hush folds around you, warm and sure as the gentle flicker of the candle flame. When you open your eyes, the monks stand still, their hands clasped, the hush so deep you can hear the soft whisper of the wind through the arches. The young monk sets the candle on the worn stone of the altar, and in that small glow, you see the heart of the hush, a promise of peace, of quiet devotion, of the slow, patient breath of the abbey itself. And as the monks bow their heads, the hush settles like a soft tide around them, a gentle benediction that holds every bright memory of Cheese Day, every quiet promise of tomorrow. The hush grows deeper as the candles flicker low, the last breath of the day's warmth slipping into the cool shadows of night. You stand by the door of the chapel, watching as the monks move in slow, careful rhythm, their heads bowed, their hands folded like quiet prayers. You feel how the hush has changed, how it has gathered the laughter of Cheese Day and folded it into the soft, patient breath of the abbey's heart. There is a gentle reverence in every small step, every soft breath, as if the hush itself has grown stronger for having been briefly broken. A young monk in indigo kneels before the altar, his fingers brushing the worn stone as he closes his eyes. His lips move in silent prayer, the hush holding each word close like a secret. You see how the others join him, one by one, each folding into the hush as the last light of the candles wavers in the dark. The air smells of beeswax and rosemary, the faint tang of melted cheese lingering like a soft memory. Historians still argue whether the hush was meant to be broken or simply to be renewed. Some say the vow of silence was a test of devotion, others that it was a way to let the world slip away for a little while. But here, in the soft breath of the night, you see how the hush isn't a prison, but a promise. One that wraps every word and every laugh in a gentle quiet that holds them safe. A monk in saffron rises slowly, his eyes soft in the candlelight. He glances at the young monk beside him, a small smile touching his lips. You see how the hush turns even that smile into something sacred, something bright and warm in the quiet dark. You watch as the monks move together, their feet whispering against the stones, the hush folding around them like a warm cloak. The young monk in russet dips his fingers in the small bowl of water at the chapel door, touching his brow, his lips, his chest. A soft, silent blessing that echoes in the hush. You do the same, the cool water bright against your skin, the hush settling into your bones like the slow, patient breath of the abbey itself. You step into the night, the stars bright above the cloister arches, and you feel how the hush holds the sky as gently as it holds the quiet laughter of the day. The monks return to their cells, their footsteps soft as the night air. The hush grows deeper still, a velvet darkness that cradles every small sound, every quiet breath. And in that hush, you see how the abbey's heart beats slow and sure, each breath a promise that the quiet will hold, that the laughter will return, that even the smallest joy will find its place in the hush. The hush of the abbey deepens in the night, wrapping the ancient stones in a soft, patient breath. You walk slowly through the narrow passageways, your footsteps barely a whisper on the cool, worn stones. A flicker of candlelight catches your eye, and you pause at a small alcove carved into the wall. There, etched into the stone, you see a riddle written in careful, looping script. Who listens best, speaks least. The words are old, worn smooth by centuries of quiet fingers tracing their curves. You touch the stone, feeling the hush settle deeper around you. The riddle is as much a promise as a question, a small mystery folded into the abbey's quiet heart. Historians still argue whether this inscription was a gentle lesson or a quiet rebellion. Some say it was a reminder of the vow's purpose, others that it was a small, sweet joke, a wink in the hush that only those who walked these halls could understand. You let your fingers rest on the cool stone, feeling how the hush hums beneath your skin, a soft, steady promise that has echoed here for generations. A monk in a russet robe appears at the end of the corridor, his steps slow and measured. He pauses by the alcove, his eyes meeting yours in the flicker of the candlelight. No words pass between you, but in that shared glance, you feel the hush stretch and soften, a warm thread of understanding that needs no sound to be felt. He lifts a small brush, sweeping dust from the carved words, and you see the careful devotion in his slow, patient strokes. The hush of the abbey holds him close, his every breath quiet him to the promise of that riddle. You watch him work, the flicker of the candle turning his shadow into a soft dance against the stone. The hush breathes around you both, a gentle tide that carries every small sound, every sigh, every heartbeat, into the quiet heart of the night. And as he finishes, he steps back, his eyes soft in the glow of the flame. He nods once, a silent blessing, and disappears down the dark hall. The hush folding back around his steps like a soft cloak. You stand a moment longer, the words of the riddle bright in your mind. Who listens best, speaks least. You smile, feeling how even in the quiet, there is laughter. How even in the hush, there is a song. You turn away, the hush holding you close, and walk back into the slow, gentle dark of the abbey's night. And in that quiet, you hear the soft echo of the riddle. An answer that is more than words, a promise that even the silence has a voice. You walk slowly back to the heart of the abbey, the hush soft as the breath of the night. The air smells of cool stone and the faint sweetness of beeswax, the last echoes of cheese day folded into the quiet that wraps each step. The riddle hums in your mind, a soft promise in the hush. Who listens best, speaks least. You feel it settle into your bones, a gentle reminder that in the quiet, there is a kind of knowing that no word can match. A flicker of candlelight guides you to a small side hall, where the walls are lined with ancient carvings, vines and leaves and small birds etched in slow, patient lines. You see how even the stone has learned the hush, each curve a quiet breath, each twist of vine a soft whisper of devotion. A young monk in indigo kneels there, his hand tracing the edge of a carved leaf. He doesn't speak, but his touch is a kind of conversation. A slow, careful prayer that lives in the quiet hush of the abbey's night. Historians still argue whether these carvings were meant to teach or simply to soothe. Some say they were a way to guide the mind into the hush, others that they were simply a gift of beauty, a small, wordless hymn carved in stone. You watch as the young monk's fingers pause on a tiny bird, its wings spread as if caught in the hush of a single breath. His eyes close, and you see how the hush settles around him like a soft light, a gentle warmth in the cool night air. You sit beside him, your own breath slow and even, and you feel how the hush holds you both, how it turns every small touch, every quiet thought, into a promise that doesn't need words. The candle flickers, the warm glow catching in the carved lines, and you see how even the smallest mark holds the hush, how even the simplest curve of a leaf can be a prayer, a soft breath of devotion whispered in the quiet dark. The young monk rises, his eyes meeting yours in the glow of the flame. No words pass between you, but you feel the slow, warm smile in the hush. A promise that even in the silence, you are not alone. He turns and disappears into the darkness, his steps light and sure. You stay a moment longer, your fingers tracing the soft curves of the carvings, the hush a patient tide that wraps you close, and in that gentle dark you understand. The hush of the abbey is more than the absence of words. It's the slow, quiet promise of every hand that has shaped these stones, every breath that has echoed here, every small, wordless prayer that has found its home in the soft, steady heart of the hush. You walk on through the hush of the abbey, the slow rhythm of your steps matched by the soft breath of the night. The moon slips through the narrow windows, its pale light washing the stones in silver, each shadow a soft promise in the quiet dark. At the end of a long hallway, you find a wooden door, worn smooth by centuries of careful hands. You pause, the hush holding you close, and push it open to find a small, round chamber lit by a single candle. An old monk in russet sits there, his eyes closed, his breath slow and even. He holds a small, wooden bowl in his hands, the faint glimmer of honey catching the light in soft, golden ripples. The scent of rosemary and beeswax fills the hush, warm and sweet in the cool night air. He opens his eyes as you enter, and you see the slow, quiet joy there. A memory of laughter folded into the hush, a soft smile that holds every cheese day the abbey has ever known. He nods once, a gentle welcome, and lifts the bowl to his lips. The hush folds around the soft sound of his breath, the slow, patient rhythm of his heart. Historians still argue whether these late-night moments were part of the vow or simply a small, sweet defiance, a way to hold on to the laughter of the day even as the hush reclaims the night. Some say it was a secret, shared only in the quiet dark, others that it was a small, soft blessing, a last taste of the world before the silence settled in. The old monk dips his finger into the honey and presses it to his lips, his eyes closing in gentle devotion. He lifts the bowl to you, a silent invitation, and you take a small taste, the sweetness blooming on your tongue like the quiet laughter of the morning. You sit with him in the hush, the candle flickering, the soft, warm scent of honey wrapping around you both. No words pass between you, but in the slow, patient silence, you feel the warmth of the day folded into the quiet of the night. The hush here is not just a vow. It's a cradle, a soft, gentle breath that holds every small memory safe. The laughter of cheese day, the warmth of the hearth, the taste of bread and honey. They live here, in the soft spaces between each breath. The old monk smiles, the hush deepening around the gentle curl of his lips. You see how the silence is not empty. It's full of every small joy, every quiet promise, every slow, careful breath that carries the memory of laughter into the night. You take another small taste of honey, the hush sweet and warm on your tongue, and you know, this quiet is not the end of the laughter. It's the soft place where it rests, safe and sure, waiting for the dawn. The hush deepens around you as you rise from the small, warm room and step back into the moonlit corridor. The old monk's soft smile lingers in your thoughts, a quiet warmth that folds into the patient dark of the abbey. You walk slowly through the narrow passageways, the hush a living breath that holds every step. The air is cool and sweet, touched by the scent of rosemary and beeswax, the last glow of the candlelight slipping behind you like a gentle blessing. You reach the long cloister, where the monks gather in the shadows, their heads bowed, their breaths slow and even. They stand in small groups, each hush a soft tide that holds them close. You see how their shoulders touch, how their hands rest gently on each other's arms. Silent gestures that say more than any word could. The young monk in indigo lifts his head, his eyes bright in the moonlight. He closes them slowly, a single breath that settles the hush deeper around him. The others do the same, their hearts folding into the quiet promise of the night. Historians still argue whether this vow of silence was meant to be a burden or a gift. Some say it was a test, a quiet weight to prove the strength of the soul. Others claim it was a blessing, a way to let the heart rest in the soft hush of the abbey's breath. You stand with them, your own breath matching the slow, steady rhythm of the hush. You see how even the smallest sound, the rustle of a sleeve, the soft creak of the wooden floor, becomes a prayer in this gentle quiet. The old monk in russet moves to the center of the cloister, his steps measured, his eyes calm and sure. He lifts a small, iron bell, its voice a single soft chime that echoes through the hush like a promise. The monks bow their heads, the hush folding around that single note, holding it close like a small, golden memory. You feel how it hums in your bones, how it carries the last laughter of cheese day into the patient dark of the night. The bell rings again, and the hush grows deeper, a velvet quiet that settles every breath, every heartbeat. The young monk in indigo opens his eyes, and in that soft gaze, you see the vow renewed. A promise not of absence, but of presence, of a life lived in the gentle breath of the hush. The monks bow once more, the hush deepening around them, and you feel how it folds every small moment into something sacred. The laughter of the morning, the warmth of the hearth, the last taste of honey. They live here, in this quiet, waiting for the dawn. And as the bell falls silent, the hush grows deeper still. A soft tide that holds you close, a promise whispered in the slow, patient breath of the abbey. The hush of the cloister settles like a soft quilt as you walk with the monks back to their simple cells. Each step a gentle echo in the quiet night. The moonlight slips through the narrow windows, turning the worn stones silver, each breath of the hush a promise of peace. You feel the last warmth of the day's laughter still tucked into the folds of your cloak, the taste of bread and honey lingering on your tongue. The hush isn't empty. It's a patient tide that holds every small joy close, like a secret whispered in the dark. A young monk in a saffron robe pauses at a wooden door, his hand resting on the rough, worn frame. He glances back at you, his eyes soft and calm in the moonlight. In that glance, you see how the hush is more than silence. It's a quiet kindness, a soft promise that even the smallest breath can be a prayer. You follow him into the small cell, the air cool and sweet with the scent of beeswax and old wood. The hush here is deep, a living thing that folds around the simple bed, the small wooden shelf, the flicker of a single candle. The monk kneels by the low bed, his hands folded in his lap. He closes his eyes, and you feel how the hush holds his every breath, how it turns the quiet of the room into a gentle hymn. Historians still argue whether these cells were meant as a test of faith or a place of rest. Some say they were built to strip away every distraction, others that they were a small, quiet refuge, a place to let the hush cradle the soul. You see how the young monk's shoulders ease as he breathes in the hush, how his lips curve in a small, secret smile. He doesn't speak, but in the soft glow of the candlelight, you see how every breath is a prayer, how every quiet moment is a promise. You sit on the edge of the bed, your hands resting on your knees, and let the hush settle into your bones. The candle flickers, the warm glow turning the simple room into a small, sacred place. The hush isn't heavy. It's a soft, patient tide that wraps around every heartbeat, every quiet breath. You close your eyes and feel it, the slow, gentle pulse of the abbey's heart, the quiet that holds every small joy and every bright memory of laughter. And in that hush, in the soft warmth of the candlelight, you understand. The vow of silence isn't a burden. It's a gift, a promise that even the smallest voice, the gentlest laugh, will find its place in the quiet breath of the abbey's night. The hush of the night grows thicker as the candle burns low, its soft light turning the edges of the small cell to gentle gold. You sit in the quiet, your breath slow and even, the hush settling around your shoulders like a soft shawl. The young monk in saffron rises from his prayer and moves to the window, pushing the shutter open just a crack. Moonlight spills in, painting the rough wood in silver, the night air cool and clean against your face. You stand beside him, your eyes drawn to the moon's soft glow, the hush alive in every glimmer of light and every breath of the quiet air. The world outside is still, the fields and hills wrapped in the soft breath of night, each blade of grass a small hymn to the hush. The young monk doesn't speak, but you see how his shoulders ease, how his eyes soften as he breathes in the quiet night. You feel it too, the slow, patient peace of the hush, the way it folds every small sound into something warm and safe. Historians still argue whether these moments at the window were meant as a vigil or a blessing. Some say the monks watched the night to guard against the world's noise, others that they stood there to welcome the hush back into their hearts. You watch as the young monk lifts his hand, his fingers brushing the cool stone of the window's edge. He closes his eyes, his breath slow and sure, and in that simple gesture, you see the hush made real. A quiet prayer, a promise that doesn't need words. The moonlight catches the faint smile on his lips, the soft curve that speaks of every small joy held in the hush. You feel it too, the laughter of cheese day folded into the night, the taste of bread and honey woven into the quiet of the abbey's heart. You step back from the window, the hush wrapping around you like a soft tide. The young monk lowers his hand and meets your gaze, his eyes bright in the moonlight. No words pass between you, but in that silence you feel the quiet promise that binds you both. The hush is a living thing, you realize. More than the absence of sound, it's a presence, a slow, patient breath that holds every small joy, every gentle breath, every memory of laughter and light. You close the shutter slowly, the soft click of wood folding the night back outside. The hush deepens, warm and sure, and you turn to the young monk, your breath a slow echo of the quiet promise in his calm gaze. And in that hush, in the soft, golden glow of the candle's last light, you understand. The hush is not an end, but a beginning. A gentle breath that will hold every dawn, every quiet laugh, every small, sweet joy of this life in the slow, patient heart of the abbey's night. The hush of the abbey deepens as the night stretches on, a soft blanket of quiet that folds around every breath and every small sound. You feel it in the slow rhythm of your heart, in the gentle weight of the candle's last light. The young monk in saffron moves to the center of the small cell, his hands folded in quiet prayer. He closes his eyes, and the hush seems to bloom around him, a soft, patient promise that holds the world at bay. You sit on the edge of the bed, your hands resting in your lap, and you feel the hush settle into your bones. The air smells of beeswax and warm earth, the faint, sweet memory of cheese day still alive in every breath. A soft wind stirs through the crack in the shutter, and you hear the distant toll of the abbey's night bells. Low and slow, each note a soft ripple in the hush. The monks bow their heads in the shadows, their prayers woven into the slow, gentle chime of the bells. Historians still argue whether these final prayers were a way to renew the vow or simply a gentle farewell to the small joys of the day. Some say they were a promise to the hush, others that they were a quiet blessing, a last soft breath before the night claimed the abbey's heart once more. You watch as the young monk raises his head, his eyes calm and bright in the moonlight. He doesn't speak, but in the soft line of his shoulders, in the gentle breath that slips from his lips, you see the hush made real. A promise that even the laughter of Cheese Day will find its place in the quiet. He lifts his hand and presses it to his heart, a silent vow that hums in the hush. The other monks do the same, their movements slow and sure, each one a soft prayer folded into the breath of the night. You rise with them, your breath matching theirs, and feel the hush settle deeper still, a patient tide that holds every small sound close. The candle flickers low, the soft glow turning the rough stone walls to gentle gold. The young monk in saffron steps forward, his hands resting on the edge of the small wooden altar. He closes his eyes, and in that moment, you feel the hush gather every memory of the day. The laughter of Cheese Day, the warmth of the sun, the slow, quiet promise of the abbey's breath, and fold it into something warm and bright. The bells toll once more, low and deep, and you feel the hush settle into your chest, a soft promise that will carry you through the night. And as the monks bow their heads, the hush breathes with them, a gentle, quiet tide that holds every breath, every small memory of laughter and light, every slow, patient promise of the night. The hush of the abbey is as deep as the night, a slow tide that breathes with every step you take. You walk slowly, the quiet wrapping around your shoulders like a soft cloak, the faint echo of the night bells still singing in your chest. You pass through the narrow corridors, each shadow a soft whisper of the day now folded into the hush. The laughter of Cheese Day is a memory, bright and warm, woven into the patient breath of the night. You pause at the cloister door, your hand resting on the worn wood, and you feel how the hush holds every small moment safe. The laughter of the courtyard, the taste of bread and honey, the quiet song of the bees. They all live here, in the soft, gentle quiet of the abbey's heart. That a monk in russet passes you, his eyes calm and sure in the glow of the moonlight. He nods once, a silent blessing, and disappears into the shadows, the hush folding back around him like a warm tide. Historians still argue whether this hush was meant to bind or to bless. Some say it was a promise to the divine, others that it was a simple kindness, a soft, steady breath that gave the soul room to bloom. You feel it in the slow, patient rhythm of the abbey's night, in the soft hush that holds every breath, every memory, every gentle moment of the day. The hush isn't empty. It's full of everything that matters, everything that can't be spoken but is felt in every slow heartbeat. You reach your own cell, the wooden door warm under your hand. You push it open, the hush folding around you like a soft sigh. The air smells of beeswax and cool stone, the last glow of the candle catching the small wooden cross that hangs above the bed. You lie down slowly, your breath matching the quiet beat of the hush. The memories of the day drift through your thoughts, the laughter of the monks, the soft warmth of melted cheese, the gentle weight of the quiet that followed. And as you close your eyes, you feel how the hush holds it all close, the bright laughter and the slow silence, the soft breath of the abbey's heart that will carry you through the long, gentle night. Let your breath grow slow now, soft and even as the hush of the abbey's night. Feel the quiet settle around you, a gentle tide that cradles every small breath and every slow beat of your heart. The laughter of the day has faded into the soft glow of the moon, the warm taste of bread and honey lingering like a memory at the edge of your thoughts. You lie still, the cool weight of the hush folding over your shoulders like a soft quilt. The world outside has grown distant and small, each sound hushed by the patient breath of the abbey's ancient walls. You feel the slow, gentle beat of the hush in your chest, each breath a promise that here, you are safe. Here, every small joy and every soft laugh is held close, woven into the slow, patient tide of the night. The candle flickers low, its light warm and soft, and you let your eyes close, your thoughts drifting on the quiet tide. Let the hush carry you, slow and steady, each breath a soft step deeper into the warm dark. Let the memory of the laughter and the soft, quiet song of the bees drift like a dream through your thoughts. The hush is not a cage. It is a promise. A gentle breath that cradles every quiet hope, every small memory of light and laughter, every soft, secret smile. Let it hold you now, soft as the last glow of the candle, patient as the slow breath of the abbey's night. And as you drift deeper, feel the hush fold around you like a soft tide, a final gentle whisper. Sleep now. You are safe. You are warm. The hush will hold you close.